Hi, my name is Eric Durham. I'm your host today for History in the Valley. This is a show that we want to welcome you to. We'll be looking at history. We'll be looking at people, places, and events that have shaped our community over the years. We'll be looking at today, specifically at Depot Bottom, a key part of Warren County and McMinnville history, where this history, literally the McMinnville was started right here, and a place that we'll be looking at today. Today's guest is Dr. Neil Schultz, and we'll be interviewing him and finding out more about how McMinnville started.
Do you need to sell your property fast? We'll sell it high, we'll sell it for you, and we'll sell it as is with no repairs whatsoever. For 39 years, we've represented families all across Middle Tennessee with estate sales, trust sales, land and home sales. We'll take care of everything. Call Hillis Auction and Realty at 931-473-7774.
3 times, move the bank, y'all down 230 high, good morning, here we go. Go to HillisAuctions.com. We've got a bunch of good sales coming up. If we can help you, call us, we'll come out and have a good day, have a good safe weekend. Thanks again.
Hello and welcome to Depot Bottom Country Store. We are located at 215 Bridge Street and we'd like to invite you all to come out for breakfast or lunch Monday through Friday. Today I would like to introduce you to my friendly staff. I'm Suzanne Moore, the owner. This is Ariana Knowles, Linda Sandante, and Jennifer Elrod. We're open Monday through Friday for breakfast from 7 a.m. till 10:15, and we begin serving lunch at 10:45 until 2 p.m. And we have daily specials every day, Monday through Friday. You can find those located on our Facebook page. And then we also post them outside our door. We have our regular menu items every day, which includes hot and cold sandwiches, burgers, and mini salads and other options. Please come see us sometime soon. Make this your new favorite local place to dine. And just remember, everything is better at the bottom.
The MyUsage app is a way to conveniently pay online, anytime, day or night. You can also come by any Caney Fork Electric office and sign up for the prepay option available using the MyUsage app. Know exactly how much electricity is used each day and the cost. Best of all, no monthly bill. You can set up email or text alerts, keep track of your usage, and pay your bill, all with the MyUsage app from Caney Fork. Caney Fork Electric, keeping you informed.
Security Federal Savings Bank is always pleased to provide virtually every banking service you could ever need. But more than that, we are proud to offer a relationship with you, your family, or your company. We've been here supplying just what you need and building a trust, a relationship. And that's something hard to find these days. Our bankers are here for you, here to help. If you are interested in a relationship, come to the friendliest bank in town, Security Federal Savings Bank, member FDIC.
Today we've got Dr. Neil Schultz with us. Dr. Schultz is a lifelong historian here. He's been integral part of literally preserving McMinnville and Warren County history. He's part of the Genealogy Society here in Warren County. Dr. Schultz, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Dr. Schultz, as we start off, let me ask about your organization, because I know you've got a historical preservation organization.
Well, I'll have to go back to the first, why some of my friends organized a McMinnville Heritage Preservation. I grew up here in McMinnville, and a lot of my friends that grew up with me stayed in McMinnville, and we watched a lot of the historical buildings and sites be lost. And so we decided we would try to do something about it. We didn't know how much we could do, but we did something about it. So Judge Charles Haston and Charles Nunley and a couple of other people decided we needed a 501c3 organization so we could have donations that would be deductible to anyone that had made a donation. So we got started really back in the 1980s. I might start with one of the reasons that we did this. Go back to the Magnus home. In the early 80s, the county was going to divest itself of the Magnus home. And one of the members of the McMinnville Historical Association was on the county commission. Wonderful lady, Elizabeth Chastain. Well, she talked the commission into donating the Magnus home to the Historical Society. Well, I had been practicing in Murfreesboro for 15 years as an orthodontist. I'm, of course, from here, but I practiced in Murfreesboro for 15 years. And when I came back, they said they needed a new president of the Historical Society, and so they pointed me out, and so I said, okay. So here I was. We were going to take on the Magnus home, and otherwise the county was going to sell it to a fast food group. And so Elizabeth said, we can't let that happen. There's too much history in this, and it was. In the Magnus home is known as Oakham, and there's a lot of history behind that. Mm-hmm. There's a story about how it was saved from the Union Army when they occupied McMinnville. I might mention that, but I don't want to get too far off. Anyway, so this is where we started. We said we needed to have some kind of organization to save these. We didn't have the money to restore that place. It ended up, took over $100,000 to restore it. And the McMinnville Historical Society, how much do they have? Oh, maybe $300-400 in treasure. It wasn't much. So we came up with the idea. We had some friend, it was Paul Barnes, and he wanted to open up a first-class antique center. And so we talked Paul into saying, we can get that at a good price. Would you buy it and restore it and make your antique center there? So he said, yes, I'd do that. If you do one other thing, and that put it on the National Registry because I can get a financial help in the restoration. All right, so I found myself before the Warren County Commission saying, thanks, but no thanks. I said, we appreciate your gesture of donating the Magnus home to the Historical Society, but we have a different path that will actually save it and make it a better place. And if you would sell it to Mr. Paul Barnes and his wife, and they'll restore it, and we'll have it for the history of Warren County. So the commission did that, and that's after that. I need to mention this. One of the deals was to get it on the National Register. So we had some friends that were associated with the Historical Preservation Group at Middle Tennessee State University. So we got MTSU to come down and do a study. And that was instrumental in us getting that the Magnus home on the National Register. That was a nice long story, but it led to us needing to establish an organization where we could collect funds, donations for our projects. We knew it started from scratch. Actually, though, once we received the Magnus home and some of the property from the county commission, we decided, well, we're going to build a pioneer village. And so now I'm into a problem of I'm having to come up with names of people that were very instrumental in getting these things done. And my excuse is I'm 90 years old, and I may sit here and I can't even remember my uncle's name for that matter. But anyway, I am coming up, Mr. Arthur Lawrence said, you know, if you have a pioneer village there, I'll make sorghum molasses for you there. You'll have to wait till October, and we'll have to build well, it's not a stove, I guess, but you'll also have to buy a pan. Okay, I went to Woodbury and bought a pan. Well, that was a lot of fun. Anyway, so Mr. Lawrence, true to his word, when we got the sorghum making mill or ovens fixed, they found an old mill, and Jonah Fitch was the superintendent of the trade school then, and he had a lot of help, and we built that first pioneer village. All right, we're not through with that. Okay, Mr. Hubert Boyd said, okay, I'll give you a cabin from up on the mountain. It's the Harrison cabin. You can put that down on your pioneer village, and you can start there. So the first pioneer village didn't start at the fairground. It started on the grounds of the Magnus home. And I've got pictures of it. Jonathan, I'll send you some pictures. I'll get those up for you, the first pictures. So we brought the Harrison cabinet from down on the mountain and put it on our first pioneer village. Buddy Dunlap was an expert in moving houses, and he did that for us, and he did a great job with moving the old Harrison cabin. So what year? It was in the early 80s. I can't remember, it was 82, 83. Somewhere in there is when we began our projects. We got off center after a little while. By the way, later on, the Harrison cabin was moved to the fairgrounds, and we had about 3 years of sorghum making with Mr. Arthur Lawrence. I would say I didn't know Mr. Lawrence until that time. He's one of the finest gentlemen I ever knew. We became very good friends, and he made the best, in my opinion, the best sorghum that I've ever tasted. So one of his secrets was he always stripped his cane. He didn't put it in with the leaves on the cane. That was one of his secrets. So that's sort of, we got started. We got off center a little bit.
Just as a question,
got a question.
Whenever you think about people look at it today and you'll say, well, it was $100,000 to redo all the Magnus property.
Actually, a little more.
A little more, but $100,000 to redo all the Magnus property and bring it back to restore it and everything. And we look at that today in 2026, and people look at that and say, well, that's not that bad. But in those days, an average house in Warren County was probably $20,000, $30,000.
We didn't have that money and had no real chance of ever coming up with it. We would have what I call a white elephant on our hands if we had that property. No, we would have the property and no way to restore it.
Yeah.
And we found a way. I think it was a good way to restore it.
Mm-hmm.
When we're talking about the Magnus home, first of it was there's a lot of history in that home out there. The first, well, he wasn't the first owner, but the owner during the Civil War was the person that brought the railroad to McMinnville. And there's a lot of history in that, and I'm telling you that he was, I'm having to search because I can't remember his name right off, and I know it as well as any of the names in history. And that's the trouble you've got with a 90-year-old historian trying to remember history in there. Marbury. Okay, finally in time. Philip Marbury owned that home during the Civil War. He was leaned to the Confederacy. He had sons in the Confederate Army, and when the Union Army occupied McMinnville, they sent a unit out to burn down that home. And when the unit got there, just so happened the commander of that unit, and this is a story that goes through history. I wish Jimmy Haley was here. He would confirm it. But anyway, they were belonged to the Masons, both of them. And with their conversation, they took the things they could take and ransacked the place, but they did not burn it down. And the word is they did it because the two men involved were in the Masonic Lodge. And I'm a Mason too, so I always mention this, talking about burning down things. My people were what they call over the mountain people, settlers before the Revolution. Our great-great-great-grandfather was in the Battle of Kings Mountain. He was the only doctor there. And he was with what they called over the mountain people. But I was telling Jonathan, later on, he had a grandson that grew up with my great-grandfather, and his grandson became the Postmaster General of the Confederacy. He was a good friend of Jefferson Davis. These two boys grew up in Sevier County. One went to the north and one went to the south.
You see a lot of that in families and situations.
Right. Interesting thing, he was against slavery and he was also against secession. And yet he ended up in Jefferson Davis's cabinet. Mm-hmm. But I got off of why where we went.
Yeah, let's bring it back.
One of the main reasons, and it gets complicated, one of the main reasons we wanted to form that organization, we wanted to save the Blue Building. It wasn't the Blue Building. We wanted to save the McMinnville Grammar School, mm-hmm. which was built around the Pickett Munford Mansion, mm-hmm. which is a historical site, probably one of the more historical sites McMinnville has. And a lot of people have no idea. They call it the Blue Building, the old grammar school, but they don't know that that building was built. The center of that building was a historic mansion they called the Pickett Munford Mansion. Mm-hmm. And I went 8 years to that school.
Well, see, I was there. It's funny, my mother was there she was in the last 8th grade class to graduate from there. And when it became Southside, and it was 7th graders, I was in the last group of 7th graders to be in that building before it became later the Blue Building.
Oh yeah, well, I graduated in 1950. I went all year, 8 years to
yes.
the building, and graduated in 1950. Anyway, so that was one of our main reasons for forming the McMinnville Heritage Preservation. We wanted to save let's just call it the old grammar school, or the Blue Building. And we hired George Burke. People might not remember. George is the one that brought Bridgestone to Warren County. He was our industrial recruiter that brought Bridgestone here. He was a civil engineer, and he was also an attorney. And so we hired him as our attorney to go before the city board and try to, we wanted to have the permission to try to save that building. There was a lot of pros and cons about the Blue Building, or the old McMinnville Grammar Schools. A lot of people wanted to just see it torn down. A lot of us didn't want to see it torn down, we wanted to save it. And to make a long story short, by the way, I come out and talk about my kinfolks are from East Tennessee, and I said, you are like the East Tennessee is our. It's our. That's what and here it's our. So I'll be, instead of our, I'm going to say our project was to save that building. And for 15 minutes, they finally, later on at the end of the project, they had sealed bids, and McMinnville Heritage made the best bid for the building, and we won the bid to the building. And the people that have it now, they were second in the bid. The reason why, we only bid for the front yard or the front campus, and we didn't bid on the back campus. We bid the same amount, $250,000. And they bid the same amount, but they bid for the whole thing. So they didn't get the bid. We did. For 15 minutes, I was standing there and said, well, I own, and my organization owns the blue building. And so I turned to Bobby Kirby and I said, we can't do what y'all can do. Said, we'll withdraw our bid and we'll be glad to see what y'all did. I'm sure you'll do a great job. And they did with the blue building. So that's how they bid on that. There's another thing that we were talking about, Depot Bottom and Ebenezer. Well, it took a lot of years to work with the city board to try to get the blue building. And we were in and out, and we wanted to do something. And Judge Hastings said, well, what about Depot Bottom? What about the town springs and the town cave? It's down there in rubbish, and they made it's a garbage dump really down there. And let's spend our time trying to work with that. So we ended up buying the property of the old town spring. Mm-hmm. Now we found out some things about it, of course, in that it was a quarry. Mm-hmm. And the stone from that quarry is what's we think is part of the courthouse now. There's a long story about that quarry.
It's my understanding, like you say, I knew y'all had gotten started in that, and you moved forward with that piece of property, and you wanted to restore that piece of property with the old town spring and everything that was there. And like I know, you discovered the quarry and the cave you knew was there. That not only at the courthouse, but I think I've heard, Jimmy Haley mention the fact that there's stone from that quarry that's, that we believe is in multiple buildings around McMinnville.
Probably the Methodist Church.
So whenever you think about it, not only was the old town spring instrumental in where McMinnville was placed, and it was the beginning of McMinnville, but literally the foundation for a lot of McMinnville came from that same area in that rock quarry.
Absolutely true. We were aware that a lot of that had happened. A friend of mine his family had a warehouse down here during the Civil War, and although he had Union sympathizing, he was involved with the Confederacy. Anyway, they burned his warehouse, and I just the other day apologized. His first name is Charles, and anyway, I'll come up. And just now apologized for my grandfather burning his grandfather's warehouse. So, but there's a piece of history probably more valuable than that. When I moved to McMinnville in 1942, on the court square they had a iron fence with the cannon and the caisson together. Mm-hmm. They were still the original woodwork of that cannon. And I assume, because it was still in pretty good shape in 1942. Well, somewhere in the 40s, it deteriorated and fell apart. And for a long while, maybe a year or so, it's laid just a pile of cannon and caisson and what went with it. And finally, they removed it. And for a couple of years, nobody, or more than that probably, nobody knew what happened to it. Well, Campbell Jr. and his grandfather had McMinnville Manufacturing. He was J.J. Walker. Mm-hmm. You familiar with J.J. Walker?
Not J.J.
J.J. was a mayor of McMinnville at one time. He lives where Galligan and Newman is right now. That was his home.
Okay.
So Campbell and I were roaming around in Depot Bottom and looked into one of the sheds, and there was a cannon laying on the floor. The cannon, the parts, the caisson, and everything. All right, so Campbell Smoot Jr. and I found the cannon, and then we informed Lady Hunter, said the a historic Civil War cannon is laying in Depot Bottom on the floor of a shed, and I don't think anything's going to happen good to it. So she said, we need to do something. She did something. We didn't do it. We were just, I don't know, I guess we were in high school. I can't remember whether we were 8th grade or in high school. We went all the way to Central High. But anyway, she took up the project, and I think she got, I don't know, the Brocks, Everett Brock was involved in it. I can't remember because I went to college not long after that, and when the Civil War Centennial came, my dog, they had that cannon back together. They had made the caisson, and the whole framework of that cannon had been rebuilt. So that's the story of how it got off of the floor of a shed in Depot Bottom to now it's at the fairground under a nice little roof. So it's better than it was. When I came to McMinnville, it was out in the open. It had a fence around it, had an iron fence around it, but it didn't have a roof on it, and it finally did deteriorate and fall apart. So that's my part. Actually, whoever put that together, I didn't know. I'm thinking I knew all the people at one time. But anyway, whoever actually did the work put that back into the history of McMinnville, and now we have it as a part of our history that should have never been lost, but it almost was close to being lost.
We want to thank everyone here at Depot Bottom Country Store for having us out. Today we've had a chance to share wonderful history, and just to remember, whenever I was a child, I remember this store being here when Mr. Hubert Hillis owned the store. And whenever I look at this Depot Bottom Country Store today, it's no longer just an old country store. They serve meats and threes and all kinds of great desserts. So we want to thank Depot Bottom Country Store here at 215 Bridge Street, right across from Riverside Cemetery, for hosting us as we host History in the Valley. Hi, I'm Eric Durham, and we're looking at History in the Valley today with Dr. Neil Schultz. As we talked about earlier, the town spring and the cave and the quarry and all that. Here's a piece of really, a part of it, I guess you could almost call a pocket park that y'all had created and the city's keeping up. They haven't kept up the whole property, but they kept up this part.
It's a start.
It's a start.
Yeah.
So hey, we got to start. And let's go up and look at and let you just explain, Dr. Schultz, the things that your organization did as one of their projects as a part of the McMinnville Historical Preservation Society.
I might mention, we call this calaboose parking because that's, to our best knowledge, that's a foundation, a calaboose in 1890 in McMinnville, where they didn't put serious criminals, but if you got drunk uptown on Saturday night, you'd probably end up in their calaboose.
I see.
And this was here on the sandboard maps of McMinnville. The last I saw one was probably in the 1890s. They didn't have it after that, but I said, okay, that's a good name for the parking lot.
Okay.
By the way, I got another thing to mention. You see these rocks? They're part of the quarry that.
So those would be a part of the quarry that was quarried down here.
Yeah, we had this. Actually, we had it cleared at one time, but there's a quarry in all that grass, and it goes for maybe 100 yards or so across there.
Okay.
And anyway, we cleaned it up at one time. You could see a lot of unfinished quarry rock, and so it was a very evident that it was a quarry.
Okay.
And the quarry was operated by a former slave. His name was Sam Leftwich, and the city sold it to Sam, and they called it Leftwich and Marbury. And Jimmy Haley thinks that the Marbury was the Philip Marbury. We don't know that, but and they got in business together and formed a quarry.
There you go. Now I suspect whenever as we go on up, the calaboose area, is probably what some of the folks used to talk about and saying, you remember when there was a jail in Depot Bottom? That was probably the jail that they're mentioning.
Well, that part, all I know is about a calaboose. So this part is a nice shady place. We hope that this will just be the beginning of a green space for the people in town. We actually have a water running through our system over there. It's not working now, but that pipe brings water from the town springs, and we run it down, it cascades over those rocks. So we'll go up